Whatever happened to the LITES, the smooth-talking soul group that gave us unforgettable hits like Oh Girl and Have You Seen Her? Back in the 1970s, they weren't just chart toppers. They were style icons, heartbreak poets, and the voices behind some of the most emotional ballads in R&B history. But time has passed, and now many fans are asking the same question. Where are they now? Who's still here? And who have we lost? Keep watching as we're taking you on a powerful, emotional journey through time, from their flashy heyday in the 70s to what their lives look like today in 2025. You'll see rare photos, surprising updates, and untold stories that reveal both the triumph and the tragedy behind the LITES' enduring legacy. Let's begin. The rise of the LITES, from high school hopes to R&B legends. The story of the LITES began not on a big stage, but in the hallways of Chicago's Hyde Park Academy High School. It was 1959, and a group of talented young men, Eugene Record, Robert Squirrel Lester, Clarence Johnson, Bert Bowen, and Eddie Reed, came together under the name The Chanteurs. Most were classmates at Hyde Park, except for Record, who attended Englewood High, and future member Marshall Thompson, who would later transfer to DuSable High School to study music under the legendary Walter Diet. Their first moment in the spotlight came during their high school talent show, Senior Varieties, where they performed for classmates, hinting at the success to come. Shortly after, they released their first single, You've Got a Great Love, penned by Clarence Johnson. But changes came quickly. Bert Bowen left and was replaced by Solly McElroy of the Flamingos, though his time was brief. Soon after, Marshall Thompson, formerly of the Desideros, joined the group. Tragedy struck when Eddie Reed passed away in 1960. In his place, Thompson brought in another Desideros alum, Creedell Red Jones. With this new lineup, the group began to evolve musically and in image. By 1964, they had adopted the name The Highlights and released I'm So Jealous, with Eugene Record stepping into his signature role as lead vocalist. However, when they learned the name Highlights was already taken, they rebranded again, this time as Marshall and the LITES, a nod to both their hometown and their growing ambitions. Under that name, they released a string of early songs including Pretty Girl, Love Bandit, Price of Love, and Baby It's Time. Eugene Record quickly emerged as the creative force, writing and leading much of their material, while Marshall Thompson and Red Jones added harmony and flair. Yet the lineup would shift again when Clarence Johnson departed later that year. The group shortened its name once more, becoming simply the LITES. From that point on, Eugene Record would serve as the group's sole songwriter and frontman. Known for his emotive voice and romantic lyrics, Record shaped the sound that would eventually make them stars. Unlike many acts of the era, he kept creative control within the group, never writing or collaborating with outsiders. In 1968, a pivotal meeting with Chicago producer Carl Davis changed everything. The LITES signed with Brunswick Records and entered the studio as a newly energized quartet: Record, Thompson, Lester, and Jones. Their debut single for Brunswick, Give It Away, co-written by Record and Davis, climbed into the Billboard R&B Top 10, peaking at number 10 on March 15, 1969. It spent 9 weeks on the charts and announced to the world that the LITES had arrived. The peak and the fallout. By the early 1970s, the LITES had secured their place among R&B royalty. Their sound, marked by lush harmonies, emotional depth, and Eugene Record's soulful lead vocals, resonated deeply with audiences across the globe. But it was 1971 and 1972 that truly marked the pinnacle of their success. In 1971, Have You Seen Her captivated listeners with its heartfelt narrative and orchestral arrangement. The song became a radio staple and crossed over into pop markets, signaling the group's arrival as mainstream hitmakers. But it was their 1972 follow-up, Oh Girl, that turned the LITES into music legends. On May 27, 1972, the song hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, a rare feat for a soul ballad and a crowning achievement for a group that had started out performing in high school talent shows. Both songs sold over 1 million copies each and earned gold certifications from the RIAA, cementing the LITES' reputation as chart-topping, record-breaking artists. Their emotional delivery and timeless lyrics captured the heartbreak, longing, and vulnerability that defined an era of soul music. Following this success, the group saw a wave of international recognition. Hits like A Letter to Myself, Stoned Out of My Mind, and Homely Girl charted in both the US and abroad, making them transatlantic stars. But behind the scenes, things were becoming unstable. In 1973, tragedy struck the Harmony. Creedle Red Jones, the group's foundational bass singer, left. His deep voice had anchored their sound, and his departure marked the beginning of a turbulent period. In quick succession, 3 singers rotated through his role: Stanley Anderson, Willie Kinsey, and eventually Doc Robertson. None stayed long enough to restore a lasting rhythm. Then, the most devastating blow came. Eugene Record, the group's creative heartbeat, songwriter, and lead vocalist, also departed. His voice had defined their biggest hits, and his absence left a vacuum that was impossible to ignore. The LITES recruited David Scott and Danny Johnson in hopes of recapturing their magic, but the transition proved challenging. The chemistry and spark that had once fueled their rise were increasingly elusive. By 1977, more shuffling followed. Danny Johnson exited, replaced by Vandy Hampton, another talented singer trying to fill the shoes of giants. The group pressed forward, determined to survive the shifting tides of the music industry and their own internal dynamics. In 1979, the LITES attempted a comeback by cutting new material for the Invasion label. These tracks, though heartfelt, were largely overlooked and ended up on a little-known album released by the Excello label. The LITES' second act. By 1980, after years of upheaval and lineup changes, Marshall Thompson, Robert "Squirrel" Lester, and Creedle Red Jones made the decision to resurrect the LITES. Though their golden era had passed, the group's legacy still held weight, and they weren't ready to let it fade. With Lester stepping up as lead vocalist, the trio moved forward under the storied LITES name, determined to honor their roots while adapting to a new era of R&B. However, the reunion didn't last without further disruption. In 1982, Jones departed the group once again, leaving Thompson and Lester to carry on as a trio. Rather than folding, the group forged ahead, and in 1983 they made a powerful creative statement with the release of Bottoms Up, an album that would mark their most critically acclaimed post-70s effort. Released on Lark Records and distributed in the UK via the R&B label under PRT, Bottoms Up tapped into the growing appetite for danceable soul and modern funk grooves. The title track quickly became a favorite in clubs, but it was Changing for You that truly struck a chord, especially in London's underground scene. The 12-single version, popular in hotspots like Flicks in Dartford and the Gold Mine in Canvey Island, became a fixture in UK dance culture. DJ Robbie Vincent, a leading voice in the UK jazz funk soul scene, championed both Bottoms Up and Changing for You on his influential radio shows and club sets. Changing for You remained on the Keister Weekender playlist for 2 consecutive years, reflecting the song's deep resonance with British soul fans. Eventually, an edited version of the track broke into the UK singles chart, peaking at number 61. A rare feat for an American soul group with roots dating back to the 1950s. But the lineup was once again in flux. In 1988, the return of original lead singer Eugene Record was short-lived. That same year, Frank Reed stepped in to replace him, ushering in a new chapter for the group. Reed's smooth, adaptable vocals brought renewed energy to the LITES, though he wasn't alone for long. Later in 1988, Anthony Raynard Watson joined as well, and for the next decade, the 2 vocalists would alternate lead duties. Lester notably reclaimed the spotlight on their signature hit, Oh Girl, while Watson led on much of the group's newer material. Then came tragedy. In 1997, while returning from a concert in Pennsylvania, the group was involved in a devastating car crash. The accident left Reed and Constance Thompson, Marshall's wife, ejected from the vehicle. Constance did not survive her injuries, and Reed underwent major surgery, requiring a metal plate to be inserted in his back. The incident shook the group to its core. In honor of Constance's memory, the group included Hold On to Your Dreams on their 1998 album Help Wanted, Heroes Are in Short Supply, a project that reflected their enduring spirit and emotional resilience. Eventually, Reed stepped away from the group once again, and Watson took over lead duties until his final departure in 2002. Through these years of heartbreak, rebuilding, and musical evolution, one thing remained constant: the Chi-Lites' ability to adapt, to endure, and to find meaning in their music even amidst personal loss. Their perseverance was officially recognized in 1999 when BMI named their timeless hit Oh Girl as number 36 on the list of the top 100 songs of the 20th century. Legacy, loss, and honors, the Chi-Lites in the 2000s and beyond. As the new millennium dawned, the Chi-Lites found their music echoing through a new generation, this time through hip-hop and R&B superstars. In 2003, their 1970 classic Are You My Woman? Tell Me So was famously sampled by Beyoncé in her chart-topping hit Crazy in Love, introducing the group's horns and rhythm to millions of new listeners. That same year, Jay-Z also paid tribute to the group by sampling their 1974 track That's How Long for his critically acclaimed Black Album. The Chi-Lites were no longer just legends of the past. They had become part of the modern musical fabric. The following year, in March 2004, the group reunited with former frontman Eugene Record for a special PBS soul music television event, bringing his unmistakable voice back into the spotlight one last time. It would be a bittersweet reunion. Just over a year later, in July 2005, Record died after a long and private battle with cancer. His passing marked the end of an era, the loss of the voice that had shaped some of soul music's most iconic ballads. Despite this tragedy, the group continued on. Marshall Thompson and Robert "Squirrel" Lester, now the last two original members still active, carried the Chi-Lites' name forward, joined by newer members including Frank Reed and Thompson's wife, Tara Thompson, the first female member in the group's long history. They kept performing on soul tours across the country, sharing stages with acts like The Stylistics and Ray, Goodman and Brown, and even released a heartfelt 2005 single titled Mother Love, paying tribute to the power of maternal strength. But the losses continued. In January 2010, Squirrel Lester died after a long illness, leaving Marshall Thompson as the sole surviving original member of the group. Lester's role was soon filled by Fred Simon, formerly of the Lost Generation, but the emotional weight of losing so many original voices loomed large. Then, in February 2014, Frank Reed, who had been part of the group on and off since the late 1980s, also passed away. Thompson, however, refused to let the music die. In 2018, a new addition came in the form of Warren Tipton, the father of rapper Freddie Gibbs, helping carry the group's torch into yet another era. By 2020, Marshall Thompson stood alone as the last surviving original member of the Chi-Lites, still performing and preserving their legacy. That same year, a long-overdue honor was finally announced. On June 17, 2020, the Hollywood Walk of Fame named the Chi-Lites among their class of 2021 honorees. On September 30, 2021, the group received the 2,702nd star on Hollywood Boulevard, a moment Thompson called one of the proudest of his life. The ceremony was a moving tribute. Hosted by SiriusXM radio legend Jeff Fox and actor Jimmy Walker, famed for his role as JJ on Good Times, the event celebrated not only Thompson and the current lineup, Tara Thompson, Fred Simon, Warren Tipton, and Mac Miller, but also honored the memory of Eugene Record, Squirrel Lester, and Creedle Red Jones, whose spirits were deeply felt that day. The recognition didn't stop there. On April 26, 2024, the Chi-Lites were inducted into the Atlantic City Walk of Fame in Brighton Park, alongside music legend Dionne Warwick. This honor placed them as the sixth group to be enshrined there. Presenters included celebrated soul artists such as Will Hart of the Delphonics, Leroy Burgess, Stuart Bascom, and Russell Patterson of Black Ivory, Cliff Perkins of Soul Generation, and Marvin Brown of the Unifix, underscoring how deeply the Chi-Lites' influence had shaped the landscape of soul music. The Chi-Lites today in 2025, the members who are still alive. Marshall Thompson. Born August 24, 1941, Marshall Thompson is now 83 years old and the last surviving founding member of the Chi-Lites. Known for his deep Chicago roots and his signature work on drums and vocals, Thompson has spent more than 6 decades performing, recording, and touring under the Chi-Lites name. Through tragedy, loss, and endless lineup changes, he's remained a rock, earning the nickname the Godfather of Vocal Groups. Thompson has never taken the group's legacy for granted. After losing his wife, Constance Thompson, in a devastating 1997 car crash that also injured singer Frank Reed, he dedicated himself even more deeply to keeping the Chi-Lites alive. He later remarried to Tara Thompson, who joined the group as its first female member, providing background vocals and support on tour. Together, they've become a fixture on the soul revival circuit. In recent years, Thompson has received long-overdue recognition. In 2021, he and the group received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, standing proudly among music legends. And in 2024, the Chi-Lites were inducted into the Atlantic City Walk of Fame, another historic milestone for a group he never let die. Despite at 83, Thompson remains active in 2025, attending events, performing selected shows, and mentoring younger artists. In interviews, he often says, "I'm here because God gave me the mission to keep this music alive." His passion and presence continue to inspire, and for many, he is the Chi-Lites. Tara Thompson. While not a member from the early days, Tara Thompson, Marshall's wife and musical partner, has played a key role in the Chi-Lites' modern chapter. Since joining the group in the late 1990s, she's been a constant presence on stage and behind the scenes. Tara brings both harmony and heart to the group. She supported Marshall after the loss of his first wife, and together they helped revive the group's sound with new members and fresh performances. Tara is also credited with helping to reintroduce the Chi-Lites to younger fans through social media, interviews, and soul music festivals. As of 2025, Tara continues to tour selectively with the group and appears regularly at tribute events, award ceremonies, and soul music showcases. She's not just a singer, she's a living symbol of how love and legacy can intertwine. Fred Simon. Fred Simon was never part of the original Chi-Lites lineup, but he brings his own legacy to the group as a former member of the Lost Generation, another celebrated Chicago soul outfit. He joined the Chi-Lites in 2010, following the death of Robert "Squirrel" Lester, and quickly became a beloved part of the group's evolving identity. Simon, now believed to be in his mid-70s, adds a warm, classic tenor to the group's harmonies and has toured extensively across the US and UK with Marshall and Tara Thompson. While he doesn't always take center stage, his background in classic Chicago soul gives him deep credibility with longtime fans. In recent interviews, Simon has expressed gratitude for being part of such an iconic group late in his career, often saying, "We're not just keeping the music alive, we're keeping the spirit of friendship alive too." Warren Tipton. Warren Tipton, who joined the Chi-Lites in 2018, brings fresh energy and continuity to the group. He is the father of acclaimed rapper Freddie Gibbs, creating a fascinating bridge between old-school soul and modern hip-hop culture. While not much is publicly known about Tipton's personal life, his connection to the group has been a point of pride, especially among younger fans who discovered the Chi-Lites through samples and tributes. He's often seen on stage alongside Marshall Thompson, helping carry the harmonies that once made the group world famous. As of 2025, Tipton remains an active member of the touring lineup, performing at festivals, tribute shows, and special events. His voice adds depth, and his presence helps ensure the group remains relevant to today's audiences. Mac Miller. Another more recent addition, Mac Miller, rounds out the Chi-Lites' current lineup. While not much biographical information is available publicly, Miller has become a consistent presence in performances and group appearances. He often fills in harmonies and background vocals and helps maintain the polished, nostalgic sound the group is known for. The Chi-Lites. Members who have sadly died. Eugene Record. To this day, Eugene Record is remembered as the soul and signature of the Chi-Lites. Born December 23, 1940, he wasn't just the group's original lead vocalist. He was its chief songwriter, arranger, and producer. Whether singing Have You Seen Her or crafting hits behind the scenes for Jackie Wilson, Barbara Acklin, or The Lost Generation, Record was a creative powerhouse. Even after Brunswick Records' decline in the mid-1970s, Record refused to let his music fade. He tried his hand at a solo career, releasing 3 albums on Warner Brothers, and later returned to the Chi-Lites in 1980. By the late 80s, he had become a born-again Christian and shifted to gospel, releasing spiritual music on his evergreen label. Eugene Record passed away on July 22, 2005 at age 64. Following a prolonged battle with cancer. In 2025, he's still hailed as one of the most poetic and tender voices of soul music. Though gone, his music is timeless, and younger generations continue to discover the emotional power of his lyrics and smooth baritone through samples, tributes, and reissues. Frank Reed. Frank Reed, born September 16, 1954, was not part of the original Chi-Lites lineup, but he was the first to fill Eugene Record's shoes. When Record stepped away in 1988, Reed stepped in, bringing fresh energy to a group rebuilding its momentum. His smooth delivery helped the group continue touring, especially throughout the 90s and 2000s. Despite his voice leading many of the group's later songs, especially on the 1998 album Help Wanted, heroes are in short supply. He was curiously uncredited. Still, fans knew who they were hearing. Reed often alternated lead duties with Anthony Watson and performed beside Record himself during special reunions. Tragically, Reed died on February 26, 2014, in Chicago at the age of 59. He is remembered not only for his voice, but for helping keep the Chi-Lites alive in the decades after their peak. In 2025, he remains a respected figure in the group's history, the bridge between the golden age and the modern era. Robert Squirrel Lester. Born August 16, 1942, Robert Lester, affectionately known as Squirrel, was a steady, loyal presence within the Chi-Lites from the very beginning. His role as second tenor wasn't always in the spotlight, but it was foundational to the group's harmony and sound. Lester's calm demeanor and quiet strength made him beloved by fans and bandmates alike. He stayed with the group through its highs and lows, even during its revival in the 1980s and 1990s. He performed on tours with Frank Reed and Marshall Thompson and was inducted with the group into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. Lester lost his battle with liver cancer on January 21, 2010, at age 67. In 2025, many consider him the heart of the Chi-Lites, soft-spoken, consistent, and full of soul. Creedle Red Jones. Born September 26, 1940, in Charleston, Mississippi, Creedle Red Jones brought the deep, velvet-rich bass that anchored the Chi-Lites' harmonies. He joined the group in the early 1960s after stints with the Chanteurs and the Desideros. By 1965, he was officially part of the Chi-Lites and helped shape their most iconic recordings. Jones's vocals can be heard resonating beneath hits like "Oh Girl" and "A Letter to Myself." His presence was quiet but commanding, a grounding force that gave balance to records' soaring leads. Sadly, Jones passed away on September 25, 1994, just one day before his 54th birthday. He had battled cancer for years, undergoing surgery and chemotherapy. As we've seen, some members left us too soon, while others continue to carry the torch into 2025 and beyond. But through every era, one thing remains true. The Chi-Lites gave us music that still speaks to the heart. Which Chi-Lites memory or song means the most to you, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love stories that honor legendary artists, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the lives of soul icons. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay tuned.